Okay, so I've been wanting to do this video for a while now. It pertains to the characters of Jump Force, particularly Death Note characters, and the article that was released a long time ago stating that Death Note characters would not be playable characters in the game. They would instead pose as props for the storyline of Jump Force, rather than actual fighters within the game. No gameplay involved whatsoever. So I think that also pertains to assists. I think that's a huge mistake, because, for one, I think it's a dishonor to Death Note. I feel like Death Note's a legendary anime. It's an easy top 5 pick. Death Note was the one anime that you would just recommend to someone who you felt didn't like anime, and suddenly turn them on to anime. You know what I mean? It was one of those legit good fucking shows that you can show anybody. So like, what the fuck? What kind of justice is this? That for some reason, just Light Yagami can't be a playable character. This is one of the biggest animes of all time, for fuck's sake. And it's not even just Bandai. There's some people that are just like, oh, Light Yagami would be too weak. He'd be too weak to fucking do anything, man. He just takes out a pen and writes fucking names down. Yeah, but that's not the fucking point. He doesn't have to be a physical type of character to be a believable opponent for the game. Specifically Light Yagami, for example. The idea was that he's just a prop towards the story because he himself is not a fighter. I mean, it was even stated by the public relations manager from Bandai, Nick O'Leary, and he confirmed it with comicbook.com and added that, you know, Light Yagami basically isn't an action-oriented character, and I quote. And he also said there would be certain limitations with Ryuk. I mean, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but this guy does have some fighting skills. I mean, like, if you go back to episode 18 of Death Note, that's where he launched the sickest haymaker I've ever seen. That you know, he landed the best blow all day on L, right? So he can fight. But I'm only kidding. I'm not saying that Light Yagami would use his fists at all in this game. I'll get to my ideal moveset in quite a bit. Let me just start off by clarifying 2 things that Bandai Namco has failed to realize. 1, they failed to realize Light Yagami's character. He's not a physical-oriented character. Light Yagami has no strengths involving his physicality. He has potential, he's an athlete, he's a teenager, but he's not on those levels of other characters in terms of physicality. You're right. However, that's not Light Yagami's game. I mean, you could put him in fucking Mario Tennis if you want, but that's... I mean, he'll probably pull that off, but that's not what we want. Actually, that'd be pretty cool. Light Yagami's game isn't about physicality. Light Yagami is all about, you know, being 2 steps ahead, outwitting people. He gets whatever the fuck he wants, folks. That's my point. And he gets what he wants because he outsmarts you. He's a mad scientist, and he's nuts. Mental warfare is just as dangerous as any kind of physicality. It really just depends on how well you are at it. You get into somebody's head, you're controlling every move they make. So why not shed some light on his character, no pun intended, by incorporating that aspect of him? Think about like how Ace Attorney in Marvel vs. Capcom, how he collected clues and shit. Why not make it so Light Yagami was aimed towards that direction, where he was all about stalling out his opponent and you can gain something out of that stall. And then when you finish stalling that opponent out, when you gather enough evidence to, I don't know, maybe instead of getting the evidence to sue them in court like Ace Attorney would, you got enough evidence to learn his name, and then you write his name in the Death Note, and then you win. You know, something along that nature. My personal opinion, you don't even have to do that. Like, if you really want to be all brain dead about it, he made Ryuk do things, right? He didn't fully win Ryuk over, but he still made Ryuk and manipulated Ryuk in certain ways. For example, do something similar. This pertains to his moveset. What I would do, right? No, I wouldn't just make it so Light Yagami will run over to you and jam a fucking pen into Goku's jugular. That wouldn't make any sense. The pen would explode on contact with Goku's skin. What I would do would be have Light Yagami pay Ryuk in apples to basically fight for him. Think like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, you know, like you have Ryuk just do most of the fighting while Light's basically being defended by him. You could give Light Yagami like a counter effect type of attack, where let's say if Goku's coming from behind you, you press down B, Ryuk sees him, basically like how he saw Ray Pember. He tells Light, hey Light, look behind you, bada bing, Light dodges him. Whoa, hey, thanks Ryuk. Actually, fuck that, scratch that right now. What if instead of that, Light Yagami looks at his watch, and then when he looks at his watch, he's just like, oh shit, time to dodge. And then he just dodges. He dodges Goku elegantly. Like, that would be freaking cool. And then, like, he does some counter effect where Ryuk's, you know, tail whips him or hits him with his wing, or he has, like, sharp claws, you know? There's so much creativity that could have been used here. There's so much creativity, and it would have been so cool. If you have fucking Yugi in this game, which I'm hyped about, by the way, I don't understand how the fuck like Yagami is not. Like, you know, come on. They just didn't want to do it. They didn't want to spend the time to think about it. And that's because they didn't understand the character. You just looked at Light, saw, okay, he's just an asshole who writes in a book. And you just said, okay, put him in the story just because he's Light Yagami. This would have been a seller, man. I mean, it's still going to be a seller. We're all going to still buy the game. But the whole point is to give us playable characters to heighten your chance of getting us to buy the game by giving us our favorites. You're not going to give me my dream team if I can't play with Light Yagami, right? So, come on. So there's that. That's the reason number one. You didn't consider your character. Number two, you just didn't consider the logic behind what your game represents. Because your last game, correct me if I'm wrong, if the whole point here is that Light Yagami is not powerful enough to go hand to hand with characters like Goku, Naruto. No shit. No shit. He's a human being with no powers. But keep in mind, if you're going by that standard of a power difference, if we're really going on the power scale here, you had your last game, you had Gintama, your last game you had Rurouni Kenshin. I'm not saying they're bad characters. That's not what I'm saying. But if you're comparing Rurouni Kenshin to fucking Goku, he's a simple samurai with, you know, specific skills, but he can't cut Goku. You know, so, and same thing with Naruto. Naruto will dodge everything. You have gods in this game. So, you know, a mere samurai, despite how inferior he is in terms of strength, you still put him in the game. What's the difference between that and Death Note, a guy who writes in a book, yet it's one of the most popular animes out there? So those are the two reasons. The two reasons: one, you didn't consider your character enough. Two, you didn't consider the logic behind your game. And it's a shame. It's kind of a shame because I was hyped. I was honestly hyped that Light Yagami was a character. I feel like assist characters nor storyline characters should have a part in a trailer in general if you're really gonna just not tell us immediately that they're not playable characters. Because now if that's the case, I can't look at a trailer and get hyped about a character if I don't see gameplay. So if let me get this straight. If I see fucking Lucky Man, if I see Geno, and I see Seto Kaiba, fucking Barney, I see all these motherfuckers, but I don't get gameplay in that trailer, that means that they're just gonna be storyline exclusive. Why would I get hyped? It's like a one-night stand kind of thing, you know? Like you're there, you're happy, you get in, but you don't. She's not a keeper. You know what I mean? And nowhere near worth the money.